All right, welcome everybody. My name is Peter Sigurdsson. I took a look at Google Classroom. I think there was some issue with the invites going out. Sorry about that, but things like that are going to happen. Anyway, welcome to our class. I'm glad to see a bunch of people are popping in here. So we're a couple of minutes late, but we'll make up for it. Don't worry about that. And I'm glad to see everybody is here. Once again, my name is Peter Sigurdsson, and we're here to study about markup languages. And some of you might be wondering what markup languages are exactly. Well, pay attention and we'll start to describe that. So I think now we're also recording these sessions, right? So I'm going to try as much as possible to type and write as well as talking, because sometimes when you can read and see things, you absorb it a little bit better than if you're, just listening. So try to do that to make that easy for everyone. So once again, sorry for the delay with class marker. When I was seeing the numbers coming into the class, I took a look, and for some reason, something got caught up there. Something had not been set properly, but we just missed a couple of minutes, so that's not too bad. So anyway, let's get started. My name is Peter. I will be the professor here. Why should you listen to me, you're wondering? Well, because I've been doing this for a long time. I've been working in IT since longer than you've been alive. And my goal is to teach you not just how to manage some technical skills, but also manage the more important factor of getting the good job and enjoying your time here at college, right? Because it's not just about work, you should also be enjoying yourself. So anyway, the first thing I'd like to do while we're waiting for everybody else to get hooked in, I'm going to make a class journal to write down all the things we're talking about. And that way we will have a record when it's time to study for the tests and so on. We'll have a written checklist basically of all the things to study. So I'm going to spend a couple seconds to do that now. Now here's our plan for tonight. First of all, we are going to review the course outline. We're going to see what we're studying. And then we're going to start to set up some of the tools we will need for this course. At any point, if you have a question, you can type your question into the chat comment.
Yoo-hoo.
Audio level test. All right, that should be better now. Can you hear me talking now? Hear me now? With my new headset? Very good. Yeah, sorry, I guess the Yeti mic, I don't really know what happened to it. But anyway, what I was saying before now was we're going to make a class journal to start recording and keeping track of all of our activities. Oh, you can hear me? Very good, Jasmine. Thank you so much for that. So let's go and do that. So going to make a folder, and I'll use Google Docs a lot, right? A lot of our lab work and stuff. I mean, I'll put it in Google Classroom because the college likes it to be there. But Google Classroom is, sometimes it's hard to find things here. There, so I'm going to be using this as well. So give me a couple of seconds to get this set up. So our subject is markup languages. What exactly is markup languages, you're wondering? HTML, CSS, not really JavaScript, but we will bring some JavaScript into our class as well because it's a good job skill. So let's make our class journal here. So this is day one. Whoops. September 10. So the first thing we're going to do is have a little quiz. And this quiz is not for marks. It is for me to kind of gauge your level of knowledge coming into the class. So that just lets me know where I should start talking, right? It's just kind of a diagnostic to let me know where our starter level of knowledge is. Excuse me, diagnostic. So let me get you the link for that. And now also this tool we're going to be using here is Class Marker. And this will be what I will use when I'm really testing you for real for your final exam and stuff and for your tests. So you can start from now to get familiar with it. As well, pretty much every day, every class, we will have a quiz at the start of class for attendance. And that will show you the questions, right? So when we get to the final exam,
And these questions will be very similar to the real actual questions you'll be asked for real in the final. So you can practice, you can assess your level of knowledge. And if you're needing to get a little bit stronger on something, then you can amp yourself up. C questions very similar to the real exam questions. Right, so we're going to start with our kind of review quiz here. And then we're going to study the course outline and the evaluation timetable. For your tests and assignments and so on, you'll see what's coming. And then we're going to actually we're going to start learning HTML by making some simple web pages. And also, we're going to learn how to set up a local web server on our own laptop, which is, we're going to set up our tooling basically. So let's go and start with our quiz now. Here it is. So I'm going to put this link down there, and I see a couple more people just clicked in the last minute or so. So this quiz is not for real, right? It does not count to your marks. However, the questions will be very similar to the real questions you'll see on the real final. So I would say act like it's a real quiz and do the best you can. All right, so everybody go and click on that link and get to work now, please. Nobody is writing my quiz. Just click on the link and get to work, please. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a link. Click on it or copy and paste it. Use Chrome browser, by the way. Do not use Internet Explorer. It doesn't work well. It's not a good browser. Use Chrome or Firefox. Because we're going to be doing a lot of web page development in this course. And Chrome is the good way to go because it has a nice debugger called Chromium DevTools. All right, how come nobody is writing my quiz? Guys, write my quiz. You're making me angry here. Just click on the link and write the quiz. Hurry up. Why aren't you writing the quiz? Just click on the link. So you can just go over here, right? Just click, copy, and then go into a tab on your browser and paste. And there it is. That's what it looks like. And then enter your name, email. You don't need to worry about student number for right now. On the real final exam, you will need that, but not for right now. And then you just click on start. Good. I have 13 people going. All right, guys, while you're working on this, I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee here. I'll be back with my coffee in a couple of minutes and we'll carry on. All right, guys, I guess everybody should be finished now. So let's go through these and work on them together. And then we will take a look at the course outline. Very good. So I have 35 people writing the quiz. I have 40 people in class, which is kind of curious. That makes me think a couple of people might have linked into the class and gone back to bed. But anyway, whatever, that's up to them. So now let's just grab some. Oh, actually, a few people are still working on it. Well, most people are finished. All right, so let's just grab somebody's work here at random and go through them. And again, bear in mind as we do this, these are very similar to the real actual questions that you're going to be seeing on the real exam, right? So that's my way of helping you out a little bit, of sort of training you, sort of preparing you how to think about the test questions. So let's go and work on that. And once again, as soon as you have some questions or you'd like to, you want me to address a certain specific topic of concern or something, either type it over here in the chat box or just ask it with the mic. Audio level test. Is my mic going okay?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me. Very good. Yeah, because usually I should see my level bouncing up and down. I wasn't seeing it, but anyway, you can hear me. That's all that matters. All right, let's go through here now. So we'll grab Amrinder's thing. Now, don't be too upset if you say, oh, I got 25%, because most of these questions need to be manually graded anyway. So that's not really a meaningful number anyway. But let's just go and look at some of these. So what's wrong with this file name? There should be no space. Do not have a blank space in a file name or directory name. In fact, one of the skills that we're going to be working on learning is about files and directories, because we're going to be making web pages. So we have to learn how to have files and videos and CSS files and JavaScript files and how to reference them from URLs. So yeah, no blank spaces. That's the bottom line there. To display the image file dog in a web page, you would use HTML tagging, and we're going to get to that in a couple of minutes. We're going to start by making a simple HTML page. So that's correct. So you say image, and then what's the source of that image? Well, it's a local file called dog. Yep. What is the internet? It's a network of interconnected computers. Now, in a future class, maybe class 4 or 5, we'll talk a little bit about TCP/IP networking. Well, later, not now. What is a website? A website is a number, right? It's a site, so it's a collection of pages. Yep. To change the background color of a page, you start by understanding that in the HTML document object model, we have elements of the page such as body, and just like image had an attribute called source, body can have an attribute called background, and you can set the color, and you can set a background image, and you can do other things as we're going to see that. Good job. The content displayed in a web page is between the body tags. We're going to make a web page in a few minutes, and we're going to see that, so we're not going to talk about that too much right now. What is a web page? Ultimately, it is a text file. It's a text file. The document does not really contain pictures. The document contains pointers or links to files on the file system. Why we make this distinction is because a lot of students are used to working with Microsoft Word, and then you are used to being able to embed a picture into a Word document. But an HTML page is just text. It is just HTML tags, and it can point to images or videos or audio files, but we don't really embed the picture inside the HTML file the same way we do with a Word file. So A is the correct answer there. An HTML file starts with, yeah, we're going to demonstrate that. In fact, right now, just to get ourselves going on that, I'm going to make a very simple HTML file to just show you what we're talking about. And all I need is a simple text editor. I know that there are all kinds of fancy and expensive HTML editing suites out there, like Quark Express and PageMaker and Front Page and I don't know, Adobe, what's Adobe's one? Adobe Express or something. But we don't need any of those things. All we need is a text editor. So here's a very simple web page. So it starts with HTML, and then every tag has to be balanced. So we close with a /, we close the HTML tag, and that is the simplest HTML document object model. Now we're going to talk about the document object model, and let's even go and put that in our class journal. So topics that we're going to cover. Right, so the HTML document object model. And then within the opening and closing HTML brackets, we can have a head stanza. And we can have a body stanza. And the body stanza is where you put the stuff that the user sees. So that's the presentation of the page, right? That's things like you can have a picture of a dog or something there. And in the head, you could have things like the title, which shows in the tab up at the top of the browser. Now, in the old days, there were people whose job was to be what they called search engine optimization specialists. And those people knew things about how to put keyword tags and description tags in the title of a document. However, about 1.5 or 2 years ago, Google changed things around, so it doesn't work that way anymore. So there is no longer really any useful thing you put in head, except maybe the title. Anyway, this is a very simple HTML page, right? So an HTML page starts and ends with these tags. That's where we're going. HTTP is a stateless protocol. That means it has no memory. And we're going to see in a little while when we set up our server that we have a browser and we have a server. The browser sends a URL to the server. Server sends HTML document back to browser, and then it forgets about it. So it does not have any persistent memory, which is why we need to do more work by ourselves to create sessions between browsers and servers. But we'll look at that in a future class. To display text on a new line, you could use something like the BR, which is the break tag. So I could go over here and I could put some text and I could format my text with a formatting tag like H1. And then I could put a BR tag to get a break. Well, actually, I'll put some other text here. I'll just say red and blue, just to put some text there. Because unlike a word processor, an HTML document by default doesn't really give you line breaks. If you want line breaks, you have to put tags in there to make that happen. Now here I could also have an HR tag, which would be a horizontal rule. Now let's see what this page looks like. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to, and you're going to be doing this yourself, right? After the break in a couple of minutes, we're going to fire up and you're going to make some HTML by yourself. But for right now, I'm just going to demonstrate. So I'll say File, Save As, and I will make a directory here. In fact, one of our goals for this course is we're going to make an e-commerce website, sort of like eBay or one of these like Amazon or something. So we're going to have a little database and we're going to have a shopping cart and so on. So we're going to have to learn a number of skills, including how to organize our file assets. So I have a little project I'm starting to put together, and my dog is named Peanut. So you'll see many references to Peanut in the work here, because Peanut sort of keeps me company when I'm teaching from home. So I'm going to make a directory. I think I called it Peanuts shopping cart or something. Oh, Peanuts web store. It doesn't matter what you call the directory. I just have to put it somewhere. So I'm going to call this index, but I already have something there called index. So I'll call this index2.html and I'll save it as type. Now, Notepad is not a very good editor. It's better if we use a programmer's editor like Sublime or Notepad++, but just to demonstrate that you can do these things very simply, I'm just using Notepad for right now. I'm just going to go and see that file to make sure it's okay in a command prompt. So I'll say cd peanut. What did I call that again? I forget. Yeah, Peanuts web store. Okay, so cd Peanuts web store. Yeah, so there's the file that I just made right now. I can also go and look at my date stamp. So let's look at that in a web browser and see what that looks like. So there's my file, which I just made. And now let's open a browser. And a simple way to do it would be to just drag and drop. That's without a server. That's not a particularly good way to do it, but well, it would sort of do the job. Now you see here I have my H1 tag. I have my red and my blue. And the reason that they're on separate lines is because I put the BR tag. If I took that away, they would both be on the same line. And finally, I have my horizontal rule. Now the picture is not showing there because the picture is not available in the file system. So let's go and get some picture to just demonstrate how to render a picture. I can't think offhand of where I have a picture of Peanut. So I'll just get a picture of another Bichon somewhere, which I guess should be close enough. Most Bichons. Well, actually, that looks pretty much like Peanut. So we'll get that one. Right, so I'll just call that dog.png. Now here in my file, I have to make that the same. So I'll also call that's GIF. So I have to make it PNG. Now let's go and save. And now let's refresh. Now you see up here, Peter's great page. That's because I set the title in the head. Now let's refresh. And that's a basic HTML page, right? Image is a little bit big, so we can set some other attributes on source here. I can say width equals maybe 200 pixels, and that'll make it a bit smaller. By the way, /angle bracket is the close of the image source. So anything else I want to put here, I have to put within that tag, not outside of it. So we'll say width equals 100. And now you're seeing a basic HTML. In a couple of minutes, once we finish reviewing this quiz, we'll go and study the course outline. Course outline is going to tell us that we're here to study markup languages, such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, not really a markup language, but we'll work it into the course. So the ability to create HTML pages is pretty important to what we're doing. Let's refresh now and see it again. So you see now my picture is much smaller because I constrained it to 100 pixels. We're going to go and make more HTML in a little while, but that's good enough to illustrate the concept for now. Now let's go back here and finish reviewing our quiz. So anyway, guys, I'm getting there's some noise in the background. There's some banging. So I'm going to mute everyone, but you can unmute yourself. So I'll let participant unmute themselves. So if you want to ask a question, unmute yourself. Otherwise, try and keep yourself muted because it's kind of distracting to everybody, right? So anyway, now we see these are basic HTML tags. If I wanted, I could go and add more stuff here. For example, in body, I could say background image equals, I don't know, garden or something. Then for that to work, I would have to actually have a garden image there. So let's go and get one. Guys, somebody unmuted themselves and they're making some banging noise in the background. Please do not do that. It's distracting to me and it's distracting to all your class members. So if you want to talk, if you want to ask something with the mic, go into the chat comment and say, I'd like to have the mic, and I will unmute it and you can ask the question. Otherwise, just kind of be nice to everybody and just stay quiet if you're not asking a question. All right, so let's just go and demonstrate something about background image here. So I'm going to say images.google.com again. I'll get maybe a picture of a garden or some flowers or something. I guess that's pretty nice. I'll get that. So I'll save that as garden. And I have to save it in the right directory, right? Peanuts web store. So I'll say garden.jpg. And I'll go back to my HTML file. So here, this image now, background, oh yeah, garden.jpg, JPG. Let's see what that looks like now. So save. And I'm just looking for, oh, there it is, I think. All right, so let's refresh on that. Oh, interesting. I'm not getting my image showing up, which is odd. Let's do a little bit of quick troubleshooting. Now, I was expecting that my background image should have been garden. Now, the first question is, did I get that tag right or wrong? Because maybe it's not background image. Maybe it's spelled something else. So a very good resource we're going to be using a lot is W3 Schools HTML tutorial. So let's go and double check if I got the tag right. Right, that's a very nice resource. You can go and teach yourself all the HTML tags you need to do your projects and assignments. Oh, Coffee Cup is still around. No joking. That was an editor I used to use back at IBM. It's still here. Ah, there we go. HTML tutorial. So that's a pretty good thing. Keep that handy. And now I'm going to see if I can find background image. I think I spelled it wrong, probably. I guess I did. All right, background HTML, how to set a background image. Well, anyway, we'll get more into this later. This is styles. This is CSS, which is something a little bit more complicated. I just want to finish reviewing the quiz now so we can go and review the course outline. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. So anyway, that's an example of setting a background image. All right, let's go back to our quiz. I'm just looking for the quiz. I lost it. Ah, it's here. So anyway, now you've seen examples of some of these tags. Select all the statements below which are true. Now, XAMPP is something we haven't talked about yet. We're going to install XAMPP after the break, and we're going to talk about it then. A web server does which of the following activities? Once again, XAMPP is a web server, so we'll talk about it once we install it. Which of the following is a picture file, JPEG or PNG or GIF, GIF? Those are the three common file formats we see on the internet. The title tag, as we've seen, displays the title in the top part of the page window. Like here, we have class marker link test results. That's the title tag. HTTP is a programming language. False. It is not a programming language. HTML HTTP is not any kind of a language. HTTP is a networking protocol. HTML is a page description language. Some people do say, I've seen books in which it's written down that HTML is a programming language. My answer to that is if you think it's a programming language, go and write a for loop in HTML and see how far you get. It's not a programming language. What is a web browser? A web browser is a program that reads and interprets HTML files, also JavaScript, also CSS. So very good. So that stuff is finished now. And how are we making out for time? All right, it's 8:10, and we're going to be going till, I know the schedule says 10 o'clock, but I think around 9:40 or something, I'll wrap it up 15 minutes early or something. So we have roughly another 90 minutes, but let's take a break now. It's 8:10. Let's give it a break till 8:25. When we come back, then we're going to go over the course outline and evaluation schedule, and then we're going to install XAMPP. Right, so on break till 8:25. And then review course outline, and then install XAMPP. So anyway, go and take your break. We'll resume in 15 minutes. All right, we'll start up again in 2 minutes. All right, guys, so our class journal, right, our Google Doc that we're putting together, and we're going to be adding a lot of stuff to it as we go forward. You can always get to it through this link. So the next thing we're going to work on now is, so we did our review quiz, that's over and finished with. And now let's study our course outline. So join me over there. It is in Google Classroom. So you can actually find it right there. There's where the link to that is. So markup languages, let's see it. So this course provides an introduction to front-end web development with an emphasis on HTML and CSS. What is CSS? Cascading Style Sheets is a way of applying formatting information to your page, right? So we always say that HTML is like the structure of a house. It's like the wooden framing. Maybe some of you guys have worked in construction and you build frames, and then on the outside of the frames, they put the brick. And then once the house is finished, they put paint, wallpaper, curtains, and carpets, and, you know, interior decorations. So that's like the CSS. The CSS is the sort of coloring and appearance, right? So we're going to see how all this stuff enables us to do web publishing. So students are going to learn and apply the separation of concerns principle to create well-structured web interfaces that keep the structuring of content separate from presentation and formatting. So students are going to learn and apply the principles and techniques for good responsive design. Now, what does that mean? That means that if somebody is looking at your web page in a mobile phone, it should look nice on a mobile phone. It's kind of hard because, you know, the same page that looks good on a big screen, like I'm using a 27-inch monitor right now, well, that's not really going to be the same experience as if somebody looks on their iPhone or their Apple Watch. However, there's ways to get that to happen. So we're going to see things like using CSS library called Bootstrap that lets us make that happen. So we're going to look at techniques for responsive design to create web interfaces that function across different devices and screen sizes. You will also learn the basics of JavaScript and understand how JavaScript creates the web application. right? So here's a reference for a textbook. I don't think it's a particularly good textbook. I've read it. I'm going to give you all of the resources that you need, right? So you don't need to actually buy anything else. Just read all of the PowerPoints and so on that I provide, and then you'll be fine. So in terms of learning for this course, you're going to learn how to create responsive. And once again, remember that means it should look good across all devices and screen sizes. So you're going to create responsive web applications. You're going to describe the difference between markup languages and style sheet languages. You're going to outline and use various document types and encoding options for web publications. So that means things like we can have text, video, images, audio, media streaming, maps, right? Three-dimensional Google Maps. So these are different kinds of documents we can embed in our web page. We're going to create well-formed standard compliance web documents using HTML and CSS. We're going to apply the principles of good user interface design. We're going to describe the role of JavaScript in building the web application. We're going to publish documents to the web. In fact, that's what we're going to get to now, which is our Apache XAMPP server. We're going to use that as our local development environment. And then towards the end, we're going to see about finding good free hosting solutions for you to put your project on. And there's a bunch of them out there. There's Bluehost and Heroku and DigitalOcean. There's lots of places that'll give free hosting to students. So we'll get you signed up on some of those for your project. Right, so course content, here we go. Module 1, overview of HTML. So we started to do that today. Introduction to web development, started to do that. How to code, test, and validate a web page and use HTML to structure. Those are all things we've started to introduce. Now, next week, we're going to talk about how we use cascading style sheets to control the appearance of a page and create navigation arrangements, right? How to position elements using CSS and grid box layouts. We're going to see how to work with images, tables, and forms. We're going to see how to use jQuery, which is a JavaScript library, to kind of create animation, right, to make our page come to life. And let's see about our grading schema now. So here's things we have in terms of how you're going to get your marks. Let's go over and look at the class plan to see when our tests are going to be. So here in class marker, excuse me, in Google Classroom, we're going to look at the class plan now. Actually, this is an announcement that I'm going to do something different. This is something I put there by mistake, so we'll get to that later. That's just the link to your class. We've already seen that. We don't need that anymore. I'm going to try and keep Google Classroom pretty clean in terms of not having unnecessary things dragging around there. So weeks 1, week 7, week 13, and 14 will be online, but I'll send out other announcements to remind us of that when we get closer to it. Here is some introduction you can go and read about later. Right, there is some material that I have from other classes I'm sharing with you. But right now, let's look at our learning plan. Right, so that's all stuff that we previously saw from the course outline. Now, next week, we will do lab 1 in class. It'll be worth 5%. It'll just be based on stuff that we're going to demonstrate and do it together. How to use HTML, right? So that's lab 2 in week 3. And something else I usually put here, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't put it here in this one, so I'm going to go and add it in. The college gives us a little schedule, a timetable to convert weeks to dates, so you can always see what's happening on each date. So let's go and put that in here just so you have it handy. I mean, I'm sure you have it from the office anyway, but it's not bad to have things together just to save a little bit of time. Academic weeks, that's the one I wanted. So at any point, if you want to find out, well, like week 9, what is week 9? So you can just go and check this document. Week 9 is October 31st to November 6th, right? So anyway, that's there. There's a little lookup. Let's go back to our teaching plan. Right, so assignment 1 will be week 6. Week 7 will have lab 3 in class. Week 8 will be test 2, right? So week 5 is test 1. Week 8 is test 2. And then we'll have quiz 2 on week 9. There are a lot of tests and quizzes. I actually think there's a bit too many, but anyway, that's what they gave us, so that's what we're going to work with. Week 10, we have test 3. Week 11, we have quiz 3. And then week 13, we have quiz 4. And then week 14, we have final exam. Now, if we look here, we see that we have 2 assignments. We do not have a project, which if I would have been in charge, right, if I would have written this course outline, I would have given us a project. I think a project would be very reasonable in a course like this. So we're going to take our assignments and sort of make them equal to a project. They're worth 10% each. So our assignments are going to be based around the theme of building a e-commerce website with a little bit of a database and a shopping cart and the ability for customers to select product from the database and put it in their shopping cart, and then that's sort of like eBay or something. So anyway, if you have any questions about this, let me know, but that's what we're going to be studying, right? So now we're going to move on. So any questions or concerns? Or if you want to know more, if there's something you don't understand about the course outline or whatever, you can email me or something, just be in touch with me. And I guess I'm not sure if my email address is here. I suppose I better put it so everybody hands it. So instructor contact information. peter.sigurdson@purescollege.ca. So email me when you need to talk to me about something. All right, good. So that stuff's going pretty well. I don't see any questions so far. It is 8:40. We're going to go till roughly 9:45 or something, roughly 1 hour. So now we're going to do something very important. Now we're going to set up our environment, right? We're going to set up our tools, which we will be using for developing our web pages. So let's do our tool development now. That's XAMPP basically. So let's see about that. So if you go here to your class journal, I have some links, and everything I'm going to show you now, I have videos about it. So if later on, you know, maybe on Wednesday or something, you think, well, you know, that was kind of late when we had that course on a Saturday night at 9 p.m. I was a little bit tired. I didn't really understand all of it. So you can go and watch these videos and see it again. So that's there to help you. But basically, we're going to make a text editor, and I'm going to use Sublime because I like Sublime. If you want to use something else, well, use it and make yourself happy. That's fine. We're going to make a simple file, which is an HTML file, and then we're going to view it on our own XAMPP web server, right? So we're going to point our browser at our own local server. So how do we do all of that? Well, all of the instructions are here, but you don't need to read the instructions for right now because I'll tell you what to do. So start by going to apachefriends.org, right? So that's step one. Go to that website. I'll drop that over there in your chat comments. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do this now. So now, whether you're using Windows or Linux or Mac, now you download the appropriate version. And I will demonstrate, even though I have it, well, I should still demonstrate. Now, this is also shown in the videos, but I'll demonstrate it to you now. Now, because I already have XAMPP, I pretty much need to deinstall it to install it again. So first of all, I'm going to download it, and you're going to download. So click on the appropriate version and just download it. Do that now. Right, so now while it's downloading, I'm going to deinstall my current version because, well, you just have to do that. You can't like install it if it's already installed. And some of you might run into a problem. Maybe you'll get messed up or whatever. Maybe it'll get corrupted or it won't work. So you need to reinstall it. So maybe, you'll need to do this yourself later on. So for right now, there's my XAMPP. And I'm going to say uninstall. And let's see how my download is going. Oh, I guess my download is finished. That was pretty fast. All right, but I still have to finish deinstalling it here. Almost there, just another couple of seconds. Now you guys can go ahead and click on your download file and start installing it. You don't have to wait for me, but I'll be there in a minute to start shepherding us through it. Jesus, this is taking a long time. All right, finished. Great. Now I'm just going to go and check that the directories that I want to install into have been erased. So by default, XAMPP wants to install into C:\XAMPP. Interesting. So I still have some stuff there. Can I get rid of that? The file is already being used. All right, so I can't do that for. I'll just put it in another directory like XAMPP2 or something. Here I have XAMPP3, same thing. I probably can't delete it from there. All right, so I'm just going to put this in XAMPP4 for right now. All right, guys, pay attention. Let's go and find your downloaded installer file. And just run it. Just double click on the exe and run it. So you're getting a warning message there. Just click on OK to move past that and click on Next. Now you see XAMPP gives us a bunch of stuff, most of which we don't need. I don't need Perl, so I'm going to uncheck that. You can put it there. I already have another Perl installation because I teach Perl. Actually, no, that's Python I'm thinking about. Anyway, I'm not going to install Perl, but the rest of this stuff I will install. So Apache Web Server, MySQL Database Server, FileZilla FTP Server, and we have a little lightweight mail server if you want to generate mail from your web applications. And Tomcat, we're not going to be using at all. Actually, I'm going to get rid of it because I don't need it here. And PHP, leave that. We might use that later, and leave this other stuff here. So I'm going to say next. And I think I already have XAMPP. I couldn't delete it before. So I'll install it in XAMPP4. And I'll install it in English. I guess my choices are English or German. I took German in high school. My mother was German, but I don't really remember it. So I'll stick with English and I'll say next. And I'll say next. And setup is now ready to begin installing. So click on next. Now this might take a couple of minutes. Well, let's give it a little break till 9 o'clock. It's 8:50. Take a little break till 9 o'clock. When we come back, this will be ready to go, and then we'll make a simple web page with it. So on break, resume at 9 o'clock.